There, the sunrise coming. We're in a different spot today, right here at Magdala. And the reason I came here is because life can be complicated, a little different than we think. We tend to broad stroke reality, and life can be more complicated. Life can be quite complicated. I want to catch this sun here before I reveal all my secrets. Well, the reason why I came over here. It's nice to see that moment of the sun emerging. You can see here to the right a little bit of the Sea of Galilee in the distance there between the trees. All the new and all the old. So many thousands of pilgrims walk along here every week. Sometimes more than 1,000 a day. So there it is, almost completely up. So what I wanted to do is ask you a question. Who built this synagogue over here? Who built this synagogue? And I'm not sure who you think of first of all. Who do you think built the synagogue? And in the gospel today it says, he built our synagogue. And who was he? Well, obviously it's talking about the synagogue in Capernaum, not the synagogue here in Magdala. But wouldn't you be surprised to hear that some Russian officer in the Ukraine decided to rebuild one of the churches for the Ukrainians? Or go to another conflict area where there's an occupation force and they're the ones that build something for the people they are oppressing. Something that's not essential to survival in a way, because even in times of persecution, people not only survive, but oftentimes they thrive. Who built our synagogue? Well, I don't have that answer for you, and we do have the answer for the one in Capernaum. Here you see people in the project ready to build, all the people who did the groundwork, all the people who were doing the archaeology, all the benefactors, so many people involved, you know. So it went from being here to being a discovery of a synagogue under this place that had a famous biblical name. You can read it here. Hawaii Beach. Some Israeli entrepreneur figured that was a good name for hospitality spot at the Sea of Galilee. And in the process, we discovered the synagogue. And I'm not sure if we'll ever find out who exactly built the synagogue, but obviously the people from Magdala were very involved in that effort. And then we had the moment of the inauguration of the archaeological park. And then we had the dedication of Duquin Altum. That was a very special moment. We'll comment on it sometime. And then it wasn't still built here, all the guest house, you know. Little by little, the southern wing is here now. You saw it in the pictures already this morning at the sunrise, all the wing is here. And little by little, it started to develop, all the volunteers who helped. And then here you see the northern wing well built, well advanced, and then you see here, the southern wing is still not even the platform there. And we're working towards this plan. So this is very interesting, Father Juan, obviously, a huge part in the development of the project. Who built our synagogue? Well, it was the Roman centurion, the leader of the occupation force, built the synagogue in Capernaum for the suppressed people. Isn't that amazing? You know, there were obviously the zealots who wanted to destroy the Romans and get them out. And there were probably some mean officers and soldiers. But there was one centurion who built their synagogue. And we can connect this with the first reading in another way. And we find Paul encouraging Timothy to have people pray for all the leaders, all the political leaders, so people can live in peace. Now, at that time, how many of those leaders, of the political leaders of the Roman Empire, were Christian? Well, the big fat answer is 0. 0. That's the big fat answer. And Paul is encouraging them to pray for their leaders. And we might not just think now of countries where there's persecution going on of Christians. We might just think of the Western world where there are people in power who don't suit our mindset, our politics, our values. Are we praying for them? Isn't that a nice call to responsibility? And what's the biggest influence we can have on people? To pray for them. To pray for God's blessing on them. And we read in the scriptures that the Lord makes his sun rise for the just and the unjust. The Lord makes the sun rise for the rain fall on the fields of the just and the unjust, because he wants them to continue feeling his goodness, because that's a bridge for their connection to him. To feel God's goodness, to know his goodness, his creative goodness. To never refuse goodness to others. And one of the greatest goods we can do for people is to truly pray for them. To go before God and to pray for them. Like a very good friend now has a major family grave moment. A sibling is in very serious condition. And I'm sure that family is praying a lot. But imagine praying for political leaders with that intensity who are completely in disagreement with my values. To pray for them, for God's blessings on them. That they will be profoundly blessed by God. More blessings than all the petals and all the... I put my foot on it because somebody said that these are not flowers. That the flowers, what's inside, in the center. Like this is the, oops, there's some birds in there. I disturbed them. You see, that's the flower, the little one. And there's another name for all that white or whatever color it is, sometimes red. There's a red one in there somewhere, up there at the top. So what a thought, you know. Somebody else went for a swim today. Good morning. Very well. Maybe we should just leave it like that, because maybe we are spending a little bit more time criticizing politicians, worrying about them, talking about them, but not speaking with God about them and asking for His blessings for their mind, for their heart, for their families, for their discernment, for all the people putting pressure on them. Life is complicated, you know. Things aren't always the way we want to planned out according to our desires. And we entrust people to God, we entrust our families to God, we entrust our political leaders to God. That's always a good exercise, very wise. God bless you. See you later, alligators.